creating a new working paradigm for people. More or less life-changing type of work, not just for myself, but then for the team as well as everyone who is part of our ecosystem, but something that preferably would actually affect the entire human race, so as to speak, because we're looking at how we can redefine work. Because having a rather interesting conversation with a very senior gentleman uh, who is working for one of the largest hotel chains in Norway, so I realized that large organizations do not necessarily value their employees as much as they should. They have very well established business processes. So anyone who comes in, they find the best fit. And if they see that fit is no longer viable, they easily let them go and replace them. And that's what we want to change. We want to bring value of a person back on top and not the entire process. Of course, from a business owner's perspective, this makes perfect sense, because from a business owner's perspective, you have a business that's running like a well-oiled engine, and just as you replace a spark plug in an engine, you want to just replace the proper type of person who does the job. And once they are no longer useful, once they are not functioning as they should, you just replace them. So this is the conundrum, this is the dilemma that we are working with right now. And what about transforming this the other way around? What about actually giving people the value, the worth of who they are and what they're capable of doing, and how they're able to operate? Like, there are days that I not necessarily feel like waking up at 6 in the morning. So I wake up a little bit late in a day that I feel like I need to heal a little bit more, rest a little bit more. And unfortunately, when you're part of the rat race or the grind, you do not have this luxury. And if you do take a day off or come in late, there is a chance that, yeah, you get a bad remark at work or even lose your job. So it's bringing you back to how to add value, how to become a valuable person yourself, or creating a working environment that actually sees real value in the type of person that you are. And so how are we doing this? We are basically starting with the hospitality industry, because there's about 35 to 55% turnover in the hospitality industries. People are just hired and fired, and no one necessarily looking very deeply into the psychology of the people who are in this industry, which is borderline slave labor. So for this to change, we need to create a new working paradigm where people come, they work at their optimal for a couple of hours, not necessarily 8, but could be 4, not necessarily 5 days a week, it could be 3. But then they deliver the best result, and of course they would go back very happy, and still continue to maintain a full salary, or a kind of salary that actually gives them the opportunity to live a peaceful life, not over the top, but at the right level, and then work on developing themselves. And one of the things, for most of you who've been part of personal development, is that you see that you don't necessarily just develop yourself from a work point of view, that is increasing the skill sets that you need to deliver at work, but you also work from a personal point of view, where you're developing yourself, you're learning new skills, you're identifying new key abilities within yourself and seeing how to utilize these skill sets. It's the same thing when you're on a spiritual journey as well, where you're identifying what you really align with. Do you really need that expensive car? Do you really need that large house that you're living in? Do you really need those expensive clothes that you think you want? So So working on yourself helps you align yourself with your true belief, your true desires, the true needs and wants that you have within you. And I believe it's a time where we as a society have moved out of that, or we are moving out of that 9 to 5 grind, where we wake up at a certain time, go to work, come back barely satisfied with ourselves, and just getting back to being a little self-worth. And it's interesting when you meet so many people right now when you meet senior people in senior positions right now, you see that not all of them are very satisfied with what they're doing. Some people leaving their very highly paying jobs and joining startups because they do not have the passion anymore to continue with these large corporations and just being a really, really, really small cog in a big machine. And people want to have bigger roles, they want to have bigger responsibilities, they want to try themselves, they want to be a bit more adventurous, they want to see if they can reach their limits, um, or even find new limits, and then expand their horizons, working for these small startups and working for themselves. So this is what we will be pursuing, and we'll be looking deeper into it, and we'll be looking at all the different elements that needs to be a single entrepreneur, or how you could actually utilize the resources, the connections, the network that you have built around yourself. And this is also a reflection of my inner world as well, of being who I am right now, how I utilize my knowledge, my love for technology, my love for making this world a better place for people, for making it a very sustainable, clean place for children and future generations, as well as other living organisms, the ecosystems, and so on. So it's about moving back into a space where organizations no longer just think of the bottom line. Of course, they talk about the triple bottom line, but actually, we know at the end of the day, it's the bottom line. And moving more into an organization that is of service to humanity, to service to nature, and maintaining that balance, just like an ecosystem. You cannot see one type of insect or one type of tree that takes over the ecosystem, and that's what's happened with us humans. We have things such as monoculture, which has taken over ecosystems, destroyed them, and we same thing with our businesses. We become very single-minded and very focused on one specific thing, and we completely overlook the rest of the ecosystem, and we lose balance. And today most people are wealthy, but they're not necessarily successful in their relationships, or they're not that healthy, or the other way around. So it's about bringing balance once again, creating a balanced working environment, so that the advantage doesn't go necessarily to the bottom line of a company, the shareholders and the investors, but actually it goes back to the employees, and which in return actually ensures that you have a very successful organization, that you have employees that you can trust, that you have employees you can depend on, and who will go above and beyond for their employer.